you doing? This is Mike from Mike's Random Thoughts. And before I get started, I just want to put out two notices real quick. One, this is not a slam piece against the migrants or anything, etc. If anything, this is more or less to show both sides of what is actually going on within the human trafficking realm and the border crisis altogether. That's one. And two, there will be, hopefully, I'm in talks with Malice. Hopefully we could do a live recap whenever part 1 and part 2 is done of this series. There is a part 2 to this series coming that's along the lines of human trafficking as well. So there's a lot of stuff to get into, and like normal, we're just gonna go ahead and get into it, okay? So in 2012, according to the first video and the bonus features that you guys are gonna see, so in 2012, 100,000 Latina girls and boys were trafficked across the border for sexual exploitation. Now, what generally happens is they separate the men and women at the border, and then they basically take the better looking ladies and then they rape them, according to what the Border Patrol is saying. Now, no one does anything about this because the coyotes, basically they have complete control of the situation within the migrants on the way. So according to the border security, the rape trees is actually a cruel game that the coyotes are playing amongst each other, you know, to see who actually raped more than the other person. That's according to what the Border Patrol is saying. Now, according to the Mexican migrants, however, on the other side in Mexico, they basically are laughing and saying that was a rumor that is started by the Minutemen. Now, border security, however, maintain that it is a competition among the coyotes, and it is actually a brutal and sick one. They say that it acts as a warning to the other migrant women to basically cooperate, or you're basically the next one. Now, I want to put out a disclaimer. This part was about the rape trees, and I did reach out to some people I know. I tried to get some people to jump on here to be on camera. And they basically did not want to be. They did let me know some things I'll go into later, but they did not want to be on the show. So, however, there's a lot of aspects that I'm going to go into. Like I said, the coyotes are basically saying to the women the reason for the rape tree. Now, if you're a rapist, there's two aspects. It's a trophy tree, and then, like they're saying, like a cruel one, basically. And then there is that sick factor that they're going to use it to basically tell the migrant women, you better cooperate, pay up, and do as we say, or you're going to be the next one. Now, whenever you look at footage, unfortunately, you are going to see there are underage garments. Now, if you're familiar with lingerie, there are very young girls designed panties and bras that are amongst that, okay? Now, I do want to go into Shawnacare briefly. Now, Shawnacare was actually a website that was designed solely for the interest of the security of migrant women. I want to put out a disclaimer out there for anybody that's watching. If you know anybody that is an immigrant or a migrant, let them know about Shawnacare.com. Shawnacare.com. That is a site solely designed with resources to help them out. Now, ranchers, they could tell by, according to Shawnacare, the ranchers along the border, they could tell by how much trash there is that's littered on the ground, by how much and how often that particular trail is used. And they could do this because, like anybody that understands garbage will know, over time, it starts to get wore down. People crush on it, weather deterioration, heat, everything. So that's what they're basically saying. We could tell by how clean the trash debris is and how wore down it is by how much they're actually using that particular trail. And the reason they're bringing this up is there's rape trees appearing on the United States border, on the United States side, on these ranchers' properties. And they're not too happy about that. They actually provided footage that we're going to use on the show through, like, you know, documentaries. They provided different footages for news crews and different things that I found clips of that I decided to use. And it is a very sick game that they're playing. I'm saying that because there's a lot of evidence pinpointing that it is actually going on. So that rumor is actually going on. As far as I'm concerned, it is. All the evidence that I've compiled shows that it is going on. So I do want to go over a little bit more about the rape tree. So over 3,000 migrants were actually apprehended alone in last March, in Brooks County alone. Now, keep in mind that for these women, there is no water, there is no bathroom. And it is said that the coyotes basically tell the girls that they owe them for helping them cross the border. And what I'm saying is, the coyotes aspect is that the women owe them sex for bringing them across the border because they don't have all the money. So the victims, they actually do not know the date, the time, nor the name of the suspect, meaning the coyote, to actually report the crime. So it becomes a dead end from the start. Plus, you got the aspect of the women are afraid of being deported if they actually report the crime. They're just like, what is it worth reporting the crime if I'm going to have to be deported and do all this again and possibly have to go through the same experience again? We're going to go into why in just a minute, as we always do. So many women, basically, like I said, according to the research, they choose not to report. Now, the assaults, they're basically the fastest growing crime on the Mexican border. On every single, like the United States side and in Mexico, it is the fastest growing crime. Sexual assaults and human trafficking. Now, there's another documentary I attached called Is Rape the Price for the American Dream? So some aspects of this. Women only have to pay a few dollars to, like the Central American women, they're only paying a few dollars. However, if they choose to go that route, they have to pay with sex as a form of currency. And the girls, they actually know this prior to going on the journey. Now, before the first stop on the train in Guatemala, men actually wanted to rape one girl. She said that the train was barely going before 4 men wanted to start raping her. 80% of the women are actually reported that they are raped on that train along the way to Mexico from Guatemala. Now, many actually won't report, like I said, due to not wanting to be deported back. Now, women offering their body is actually so popular in immigration and migrants that there's actually now a slang term for it. That term, now I don't speak Spanish fluently, but it's cuerpo matico, CUERPOMATICO. And basically what that translates to is using their body like an ATM. Like I said, the girls know this option. So many of the authorities, they've actually been detained for abusing the migrant women themselves. I'm talking about Mexican authorities as well as United States Border Workers Authority. Keep that in mind. Like I said, this is not a slam piece. I'm showing all sides. So including the border agents for abusing the migrant women and immigrant women. The number of migrants that are minors on the border has actually skyrocketed recently to a whopping 77%. You heard that right, 77%. One local Guatemala woman actually said simply that women and girl traffic, meaning young girls, well, business is a booming, she said. Now, it is also found out that whenever you go into a bar or a restaurant, like a tavern, a watering hole, a food place, if you see a black square background with a red star in it, that actually means that that business is paying for protection from a local cartel. And that means that anything that happens will be reported to the local cartel. And the chances are you won't make it out of the town alive, is the way the saying goes. So there's actually secret doors that's attached to these businesses, establishments, such as the bars and restaurants. Now, these are tiny little like rooms, basically the size of a large shed. And they're the rooms that they use probably with a lot of them have like little beds in it, maybe a lamp or something like that. And that's where the people that eat there and drink there, they go and they have sex with these girls, both of age and underage girls in these back rooms. It is a very popular practice right now, they said, in all over Central America, Mexico, and along the border. So we're going to go into another video that a former coyote basically described how he smuggled. He said that what he knew he was doing was actually illegal, but he didn't really consider it wrong. He actually said that the reason why is because he was helping people the way he saw it. He verified that yes, many people actually do die in shipping containers on trucks, including children. He said that one instance, it was over 10 people that died in one truck shipping container, like a semi-truck shipping container. They pack them in there like sardines, basically. So, and because of the heat and because of the stopping and all the border chaos, the trucks have to stop for a really long time in the heat. I don't know if you've ever been inside a metal container, but they'll start cooking, and they'll start cooking pretty fast. So that's how those people died. And he said that does happen. So 20 years ago, he said it only cost $350 from Central America to Guatemala. He said then it was another $300 at the border of Mexico and Guatemala. He said today it is $5,000 to $10,000. And if it's a child, the price actually doubles for the trip. So he said, I know Americans say that I'm a dangerous man. And he said, but to me, it is just a job. I'm doing a good deed. He made it seem like he was like Robin Hood, basically. So each portal in Mexico is actually controlled by a drug cartel, okay? So there's a different, it's kind of like street gangs. There's a different area in Mexico that's controlled by one drug cartel family or group. And it's controlled with an iron fist kind of thing. And it's very much, in the preview, I provided a map. And on my Instagram is where you can find the map, where it actually shows the map of Mexico and the true government of Mexico, which is the drug cartels. And you can see why I said that according to the map. So anyways, let's get back to it. So girls are basically given bracelets, he said. And at this particular time, the bracelets are actually colored blue. And he basically told them that they are a GPS device and that the girls are tracked. And he does this for security reasons as well as for their safety, which I would argue is both the same thing. But he also said that he would form a contract with the family members, meaning the girl's family members or the child's family members, the adult family members, whoever it may be. He actually personally will form a contract for $4,000 to $4,000 alone to get across the Tijuana border. Now, all these are separate payments, keep in mind. Like he said it depends on where you want to go to. So say you want to go from Central America to Guatemala, that's one amount of money. So once you get to Mexico, there's going to be another amount of money that you have to pay. And he said if you want to go farther, like if you want him to take you to the Tijuana border, it's going to be an additional $4,000 to $5,000. It's a lot of money, right? He would take 20 people, but he would split it up, he said, with 5 to 6 other men. He said, so it's not like I'm personally getting all the money. I split it up with 5 to 6 other people that's involved in this operation, he said. He said that more security at the border, when he was asked about, are you worried about Trump and Biden and the border crisis? He said, absolutely. He said, but more security only means more money for myself and more money for cartels and more money for coyotes. And with coyotes, as we discovered in the previous video, there's both coyotes that work solely for the cartel and coyotes that worked as independent contractors. It sounds like the independent contractors, if you're needing one, is the way to go, by the way. We're going to go to another video in just a minute. So, a border on Arizona, right? This is a border town one, a little news clip. So a bunker was found. I want you to keep in mind, though, that this bunker was a plastic container, okay? And it had a hole in the top of it. Okay, now, when I worked in an oil field, I did small confined space human rescue. And one of the things you have to do is clean out the oil tanks, and we used a power washer system. So it reminded me of a commercial power washer size plastic container with a hole in top. Now, the hole was only cut big enough for a small child to fit through. Now, you would think that's simple enough, right? No, they're more creative than that. They actually angled the container to go into the ground to where once the child gets in, they can't get back out of the container without somebody helping them out of the container. Now, once you look into these containers, you'll see car seats, strollers, toys, children's beds, kids' vanity sets, signs for children, basically, is what it's called. If you're into human trafficking, those are definite signs that those containers are used for children to stay in temporarily to where they're going to. Now, outside of the bunker, though, what's scary is there is human restraints onto the tree. Now, if you're into BDSM, these human restraints resembled an X pattern. An X pattern means, I got a little bit of wind over here, bear with me. An X pattern means that they're like this. Your arms are going to be like this, up, and your legs are going to be crossed, forming an X. And these are child size restraints and adult size outside of these bunkers. So that means that they're possibly restraining the children, according to the investigators. Now, when you look at social media, it has made it easier for human smugglers. One girl stated that she met a coyote on Facebook. She said that he started being nice. Now, when you're into true crime and you get into human trafficking and you get into child sex crimes, the term that we're looking for here is what we call groomer. A groomer is somebody that specializes in, they spend a lot of time to learn how to manipulate children. They spend time on children's sites, and they spend time on children apps and children music or teenage music, whatever it might be, to learn how they think. So they'll contact them on Facebook and they'll start being nice to them, basically being really friendly to them. And what that's called is grooming, and that's why they're called a groomer. She said that they like to use the most trendiest social media apps, like the ones that the teenagers have, like our kids and teenagers and stuff like that have. That's the applications that these people basically are utilizing on their phone. Whatever is the latest one, that's what they're going to be using. So the groomer basically eventually sent men to her house to have sex, basically to pay her debt. She was sending her clothes when she said being nice, by the way. I forgot to put that in there. He was sending her like a lot of amount of clothes. And one day he said, you're going to have to pay all that money back. He was basically helping her build her Instagram account. This is an online sex predator. So what was going on was he was buying her clothes and then helping her post them on Instagram to become an Instagram model. And then whenever she had to pay that debt back, that's whenever he sent the men to her house to have sex, basically to pay the debt. Now, sex traffic in San Diego alone, San Diego, California, is actually the second largest underground economy, second only first in being in drugs in San Diego alone. That says a lot right now if you study true crime. That means that sex traffic has jumped to the #1 spot in the criminal community. Now, I also included this really cool video. It's a 3D video. I really suggest that you guys watch it all the way through. Now, I had to walk around and actually be proactive in this video for the first time. I've never experienced one of these 3D videos, but man, it's actually pretty cool. I had to walk around on it, and when you're walking around, like she says, go ahead, take a look. So you're looking around the room, and that's how I had to do the video. But it's actually really cool, and it's a true story. It's her true story about how she got trafficked from Guatemala to Mexico. So it's her true story. So that's why I said it's crucial that you guys watch that, okay? Now, upon doing some more research, like I said, originally I was going to stop it right there. We're only 18 minutes in. We're going to keep going. So this one human smuggling coyote interview I included was that he was an independent contractor and he worked for multiple different cartel groups, okay? So they only work with Mexicans, though. He said that he likes to make sure that he gets paid. And he said that in his experience, whenever he took clients that worked Mexico to get them smuggled into the United States, if they weren't Mexican, he had a harder time collecting the money. So he prefers to only work with Mexicans, he said. He does provide bracelets that have a number and information that this actually correlates with the local cartel. He was an independent contractor. So basically they have a bookkeeper at one of these restaurants or bars, right? So this independent contractor, he'll go contact the coyotes people and he'll say, hey, I have X amount of girls or X amount of people that I'm trying to get trafficked across. I got these bracelets. And they have a number on it. So they'll put that number in that book, in their local book. He said that back in the day, you only had to pay one time with the system. If you got caught, You just kept your bracelet, and when you got back, you said, hey, I already paid one time. But due to the current border crisis, But due to the current border crisis, he said there's such an influx that they're not doing that anymore. You have to pay each time, even if you get caught. But anyways, the migrants won't take off these bracelets because these bracelets are their identification. It's a way to show that they've already paid, they've already done this. Other people that's involved, they know the color system, they know the number, they have all the information, so they know who the person originally paid to and all that. And whatever happens can go from there. So he said whenever he was asked about sex traffic, he said that he is an independent contractor and he does not do that. He said that it does happen, but he didn't really want to go that much in detail about it. He did ask this, though. He turned to this guy that was interviewing him, and he said, let me ask you this. How does a parent just give up their child away to just a complete stranger from South America to Mexico to the United States? And that's it. Like, they never see him again. He said that he preferred the Trump administration. I found that really interesting. Than he does the Biden administration. He said the Biden administration has made it much more dangerous with the open borders. He said there's so much more competition and it's so much more dangerous and getting so much more cutthroat with the human smuggling and with children that it's actually getting more dangerous to actually do his job. So he preferred the Trump administration actually than this administration. It was just less violence and less competition, he said. He said right now, humans are the number one commodity. The second to guns, or second to drugs, and then third being the guns. Sorry guys, I got allergies going on. Again, he said that he couldn't answer the question about the sex traffic problem. He just said that he knows that they pay, and sometimes they pay in parts. I think what he was referring to is the cryptomatic thing. Sometimes these girls go with people and they're paying a certain way, so they're paying in parts. Or just in money in general, they're paying in partial amounts. And he emphasized again that he can't talk about sex traffic because he's not involved in it. He said that he can only tell you about stories that he has heard, like he said, that it does happen amongst different people. And that's why he prefers to work alone with his little 5 to 6 people. So I want to go into something really interesting. There's a lot of sexual assaults going on at 5-star all-exclusive resorts going on. Many women are actually raped, and they find very few allies from the country of the incident, or let alone their home country. There are reports of sites like Travelocity actually deleting this one female and one male rape victim's reports, stating that it was not family friendly and they had to delete their post. These women were actually raped at 5-star exclusive resorts. Keep in mind, like I keep emphasizing, I say that because that's the same level of resorts that celebrities go to. Okay? The same level. It happens in, one girl said that it happened to her in a family pool area. One girl said that the guy basically approached her in a family pool area, took her to the room, and even in a, so these, I see what I did. Okay, so multiple different reports are happening at these resorts, from the family pool area to the hotel rooms and even the hallways. In the hallways, like storage closets, employee storage closets, and even bushes and trees close to the hotel grounds. One rapist said that rapists are guests and hotel and resort staff are the rapists. The resort staff actually have done little to nothing to actually help these victims. One resort actually flat out refused to call the police for a woman to actually provide help for her after she was raped by a hotel security. So basically, the resort staff, their security member, raped her in the utility closet in the hallway. People around it did nothing. And when she went to go complain, they actually flat out refused to call the police to help her out. The one resort actually told reporters when they reached out that it is a matter of privacy concerns and of the parties that's involved. This is the reason why they can't provide information. I would call that real wealth privilege if I was you. Now, considering the lady was actually gang raped and the rapist told her he was not alone. So this girl and her daughter convinced her to approach the rapist since the hotel staff wasn't doing nothing. They were going to record it. And because it was a 5-star, resort. These people are wealthy. The rapist actually laughed and told her, hey, I wasn't alone, so I guess it's okay. And again, when she showed the footage to the front desk people, they flat out refused to help her do anything, saying that it's a conflict of interest with the guest and the safety for the guest. They're more concerned about their money, in other words. So I also provided a documentary called Sold in America. Now, many sex workers just basically they consider themselves part of the sexual adult industry in one aspect, whether it be escorts, online dating girls, cam girls, or even hookers. They basically just consider themselves one part of the adult industry bracket in basically some way. So basically what I'm saying is a lot of them do consider it like a job. Most are actually currently right now, it turns out, fighting to legalize prostitution across the United States of America. That's right, folks. There's another movement going on. This one's to legalize hookers. Moving on. So when you look at places like the Bunny Ranch, right? This guy, these girls actually consider themselves independent contractors, all right? So they give 50% of their earnings to the Bunny Ranch boss. One girl stated that in 8 years, she would actually collect $500,000. The girls will line up and let a customer choose which one they want. Basically like a meat market. The girls will line up in whatever skimpy outfit they have on or choose to have on or costume or whatever it may be. And the guys will basically choose which girls they want to purchase. Now, the business owner actually claims, hey, look, I'm not a pimp, okay? He said that a pimp is a low-budget, broke guy that's taking girls to a hotel room. He said, I'm not a pimp. These girls are businesswomen. I provide a safe place, a safe environment, and even panic buttons for the girls. I'm not a pimp. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, bud. You're a pimp. You're just a high-end pimp. You're providing the same service, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I wanted to go back into this a little bit. So the girls basically call what they do a business transaction, and just like he did. He said the girls are considered, just like I do, it's a business transaction. And there's security cameras and panic buttons and all that, like I said. So one girl said, when asked, would you encourage other girls to be a hooker here at this establishment? And she actually said, no, I would never recommend a girl to do this kind of work because it's filthy. Again, one other girl said, yeah, because she would have $500,000. So I guess it just depends on the personality type of what you want to see. Now, street workers, going back to it, they're fighting for legalized prostitution because of the fact they can't do rape reports, okay? Now, this is a double-edged sword to me because of my spirituality. I'm not for legalized prostitution. Do not get me wrong. I'm not going to support that. However, I do understand what they're saying. They're saying that, especially they said for the trans ones alone, they said that they cannot report rapes because if they report rapes, the cops are going, well, what happened? What are you doing? And they charge them with prostitution So they got raped and they report the rape, and then they get arrested for prostitution after reporting the rape. And they say nothing ever happens to the perpetrators. And most of the Johns, they say, actually know that, you know what I'm saying, ahead of time. And they think that by decriminalizing it, that it would actually make sex workers and brothels actually safer. I'm going to dismantle that here in a little bit. Like I said, a lot of research material. Now, many girls, hold on. Like they're saying, so they said if they legalize it, it would actually keep them safer from rapists, human traffickers, street pimps, basically by cutting them out and making them their own business boss. They said that we won't have to have a pimp if you legalize prostitution because we could just do pimp ourselves. Well, they're doing that already through dating apps and campsites. We know that there's actually evidence of it, okay? They think that it will eliminate street sex crime as well. A lot of these Democratic city leaders and all that, they think that it would, eliminate street sex crime. Well, if you look at studies from Amsterdam, which is one of the biggest human trafficking portals there is in the globe, studies will prove you wrong with that, okay? There is still rape going on there. There is still human trafficking. There is still child trafficking going on in Amsterdam, and that's one of the countries that's considered a human trafficking mecca of the globe, along with some other choice things. So, as we went over with this piece, like I said, I didn't want this to be a slam piece. Now, there's some stuff I didn't include in it, such as you're going to see a clip on the border, right? According to the Border News Network, I utilized their clip, and they show with cameras and lights. Now, if you know about children, then you're aware of the fact that they'll react to light even asleep. Like if you flash a light in a sleeping child's room, they're actually going to wake up. These children, they're so drugged up on drugs to knock them out. They're incoherent to loud bangs, loud noises, and even bright lights flashing. What this shows is they're drugged to be compliant. Now, remember when I told you that human trafficking is one of the biggest crimes going on across the globe right now? And it is. In Asia right now, they said that you could buy a child for $400 with no questions asked. They said it's $1,000 in Mexico. So that shows you that there is a very big problem going on. Not just in Mexico, not just in the United States, not just in Canada, across the globe. I said Asia, across the globe. I remember years ago a documentary with a Broken Arrow doctor from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And he was caught in an underage sting operation similar to the one that I provided in the Bonus Features presentation himself after purchasing 2 little girls. And yes, there was evidence that he had sexually assaulted them before the investigators stormed the door down. You're going to see a lot of that. And that's because right now there's a lot of human trafficking going on, and unfortunately that includes children. These pedophiles are buying children, both rich ones and street pimps. They're buying them left and right. And unfortunately, this led me down a rabbit hole to do a part 2 of this. Like we're already 33 minutes in. Remember a while back I said I'm trying to keep my shows a little bit shorter. I might do like a series in different parts, but I'm going to try to keep them shorter, okay? That's what I said. And this is no exception. So like I said, what it led me to, you guys are going to see. But let me ask you this. Before I say that, let me ask you this. How is it America is one of the most technically advanced countries in the globe? Okay? I'm talking military-wise and government-wise. We have so much technology. I think we're second to China, okay, in Japan and all that. Now, that tells me if our country wanted to shut down these human trafficking tunnels that you're hearing about, and cartels trafficking humans and children, I'm saying humans for adults and children, across the border through these tunnels, if they were serious about this, I believe our country could smash it down like that. I think Trump knows that. I think that's what he was trying to do. And something tells me that these doctors, and there's a reason why I'm saying doctors, and these crooked politicians and crooked CEOs are spending so much time and energy on aiding the border crisis instead of smacking down the border crisis. They have the means. They have the technology to do it. If you have half of a brain cell, you know this. There's a reason why they don't have the border shut down. The answer to that is they make way more money off of the illegal immigrants and way more money off the migrants and way more money off the drugs coming in and way more money off the criminals being elected or arrested and way more money off of the human traffickers and their victims than they would ever make if they shut it down, and they know that. And they know that. You remember a little bit previously back in this episode when I said I provided a map on my Instagram account where I provide news and politics. And that map shows a map of Mexico, and it shows the cartel's protection, like the cartel's controlled area, right? And when I said that's a true Mexican government, there's a reason why that I'm saying that, because these drug cartels have enough money to where if they actually came together, they could buy the country of Mexico together, including the military. And they know that. So these politicians and these businessmen, they're making hands over fists off all this, man. That's why they don't want it shut down. It has nothing to do with humanitarian aid. And they know that by doing what they're doing, these crimes are only getting worse. They're not getting lessened by loosening the straps and letting more in. That's not stopping the crimes. In fact, that's actually escalating the crimes. Keep in mind that coyote said, with his own mouth, in Mexico, I preferred the Trump administration because business was safer. Since Joe Biden opened up the borders, there is so many people involved in this that it is now unsafe to do business. It's more unsafe now than it's ever been before. Okay, and there's a reason why they're doing this. Like I said, they're making more money off of it. We have statistics to actually prove that, okay? Now, the reasons why I included doctors in that statement earlier with emphasis. When you look at human trafficking, it's more than just people coming across the border and people making money, both illegally and legally, through tax programs. It's more than that. It's more than just children being pimped and trafficked across the border. It's more than that. This rabbit hole led me down the human organ trafficking element of human trafficking. And when I saw that, I started looking at statistics of national transplant shortages and their fears over healthy adults and healthy organ transplants. And I started looking at how much money they make off of human organs and arteries. And I started realizing they make a lot of money off of people's body parts. So much and so that it is the second biggest illegal activity in Mexico. Both cosmetic surgeries, cosmetic surgeries and taking their organs, from what I understand. People go down there to get breast implants, and they also get a missing kidney with no memory of what happened. I have a theory about that they're using that cartel drug, I call it. It's a plant that is dried up. They blow it like that. And people basically lose all consciousness. They'll do anything you say. They become hypnotized, basically. They've even been known to empty out people's bank accounts without them even having any memory of emptying them out. Like, they'll call the bank the next day. What happened to all my money is gone. We have footage of you pulling it out with no memory of it happening. Cartels and coyotes, they love that drug. They love it. The underground criminal market in general, they love that drug. Because of that reason. You can hypnotize and control people. Anyways. It is a second leading crime. So, part 2 is going to be on human trafficking / organ trafficking. Artery and organ trafficking for body parts. Which is a very booming illegal business across the globe. Not just in the United States, not just in Canada, but across the globe. Africa, Asia, America, Mexico, all these countries. It is the fastest growing crime going on. I'm going to give you an example. One human eye for a regular healthy adult goes for $1,500 on the black market. $1,500 on the black market. That's $1,500 on the black market. Okay? That's an example of why. These crimes are booming and these people are sick and twisted. We thought that the Nazis in World War II with the twisted medical experiments that they were doing and the Russians in World War II's twisted medical experiments were bad, folks. These people make them look like Cub Scouts. Straight up Cub Scouts, all right? Don't let the media fool you. But with that said, I emphasize, because I am a Christian, this is not going against this. I want to say this. The coyote said, what possesses a person to give up their child and send them off with somebody in hopes of going to the United States from South America? Desperation. Desperation does. These migrants are desperate for help. They're desperate to get out of their country. They're desperate to get their children out because their countries are collapsing politically and they're getting violent and food is running out and their only hope to them is to send them to America. So they feel better about taking that chance and sending their children off at whatever cost it may be in hopes that eventually they'll have a better life than they do by letting them stay there. That's the reason why. So am I saying I'm against illegal immigration? There should be a better way, but these countries need to be held accountable for the way they're treating these people. You're constantly hearing about how America is treating them, but you seldom hear about how Mexico is treating them. You never hear about that. Mexico has some of the strictest immigration policies in the globe. They really do. Yeah, they might be lenient on drugs and sex and all this other stuff, but believe me, they have some of the harshest laws for immigration, ironically. Ask them how they treat people at that southern border. You know what I mean? Ask them. Ask them sometime. How do they treat people at the southern border? Because it ain't well. It ain't well at all. In fact, Mexico right now is one of the most persecuted countries right now for Christians and Jews. I asked a Mexican one time, I'm not going to say a name, but I asked her about it and she said that it's true, that the Christians are getting killed and raped, but they're happening by El Salvadorian immigrants. So when you hear about these migrants coming from El Salvador, they're raping Christian girls and pimping them out across Mexico. That's the reason why they're the most persecuted Christian right now. One of the most persecuted countries for Christians right now. One of the fastest growing is because of the migrants going there. She said that's why the Mexican people, that's why they don't like the migrants. They don't want the immigrants going to Mexico. They don't want them going there. They don't like them. You heard the coyote say it. The coyote himself said, since Joe Biden got control of this, business is bad. It's dangerous. It's crazy. It's wide open. Everybody's doing something. So it creates a very dangerous environment. That's what they're trying to say. They don't like it either. They like the old way better. You know what I'm saying? That's the ironic part. Now, I did try to get some people to get on camera. Every single one of them basically laughed and didn't want to jump on camera. Now, after doing research, as we saw, these people are tracked even whenever they get to the place they're going to. We have in the documentary clips, you'll see that, where they said that these coyotes will get them to a state destination and they'll call a local person. That local person will help them get a job, normally as like at a hotel, at a restaurant, or something like that if they're a female. And they're basically tracked the whole exact time. And they're basically making them give them their money to pay back that debt for them paying to get over here. Remember when I said he said sometimes they pay a little here and sometimes they pay a little there. That's what he's saying, that they're tracked even whenever they get to the state. So whenever they're working, they're still sending money back. That money they're sending back is also going to these coyotes to pay back that debt that they owe for coming here. That's a little part that they won't tell you. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't pay that debt, a lot of times it's really bad for their families, is what's going on. So I'm saying more needs to be done for sure. But wide open borders is not the answer. We're seeing violence escalate on our American side now on the borders as well. Lots of violence is going on. There's a lot of police shooting in the border towns right now. These people coming over, they are shooting at cops. And they're not asking questions. You know what I'm saying? I know they're not reporting that, but there's plenty of footage out there of like in Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, in California, and along these border towns where the migrants, immigrants, and cartel coyote people, they're just shooting at cops. They're not asking questions. So the same style of crime that you see in Mexico is now starting to trickle into the United States. This is a result of the open border policy. I'm not saying it to be an a-hole. I'm saying it to have common sense. When you let something be wide open, okay, let's look at your house. Would you let your house be wide open? Like, would you just like take off the front door and the back door and leave your house wide open all the time? You're just like, oh, it's all good. Peace, love, and grooviness, man. It's all good. No, you wouldn't, and you know you wouldn't. So why do you think it should be any different for your country? Why is it that they think that it should be any different for our country? Our country has a border for the same reason why your house has a border. Your front door and your back door, your windows, that's your border of your house. Your country has a border for the same reason, to protect us from all the craziness. So make sure everybody's coming over, they're safe. You know what I mean? They're okay to come over. That was the whole reason. The numbers just got crazy with the amount of it. And a lot of that has been proven to be media promotion, meaning that the Mexican media was collaborating with the United States media, hyping up the situation, and it trickling out to these other countries, creating an influx of people coming to the countries, on both sides, Mexico and the United States. And if the Mexican citizens are saying, we don't like it either, man. You know what I'm saying? As you have majority of Americans that don't like it, there must be a reason. And that reason is common sense. When you leave something wide open, bad things will come in. There's still bad people. It doesn't matter. You'll never have a peaceful utopia where everybody is just getting along. That's never going to happen unless you drug a whole population and control every aspect of their life. And even then, you'll have to drug them up to make them do it. And the reason why is people are people. We have free will. That's the reason why, okay? That's the honest truth. We have free will. That's the reason why. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You could give them all roses. You could give them $1,000. And when that $1,000 runs out, they're going to go right back to doing what they're doing. Why? Human nature. The reason why you need a secure border, I'm saying secure borders all the way around. Canada, United States, southern Mexican border, is to protect them from what? The bad stuff coming in. It's just that simple. when you look at these numbers, they're skyrocketing. These aren't small numbers. These aren't small numbers. These are huge, massive, leaping numbers. And they're children. And these aren't regular children. These are children between the ages of 4 to 16 years old that are being trafficked. They're being raped and they're being pimped along the way. Some of them may never make it out. You know what I'm saying? And there's proof of that. That's going to be all in the bonus features as well. You can see all of that. And they're talking about it. People are finally talking about it. It's just hard for some reason here in the United States to get them to talk about it. I think we all know what that is. The cancel culture. Everybody just doesn't want you to have an opinion. They just want you to pretend like nothing's going on. But this stuff is an ongoing problem. Like I said about the rape trees. When you look at these women's garments, these are preteen garments. So these are little girls that are being raped over and over again. And they have no voice. They have no voice. They're scared to report their crime because they'll get deported. They're scared to report their crime because they'll get killed. The ones that are there are scared to try to stop the attack because they're showing them the rape trees and saying, guess what? If you try to do anything, you're next. And they already have their family's information because remember what that coyote said? That coyote said, we have a contract with their family. That means they know where their family lives, they know where they work at, and if they don't cooperate, they're going to get killed. And that's how these people operate, on fear. Fear is 1H of a motivator. And that's how these people are operating, by fear. And that's why you see me, myself, I like to pump out on social media a lot of stuff about not having fear. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. Do you get what I mean? We're supposed to stand for what's right and what's just. So I want to bring awareness that yes, these young girls and these women are being trafficked both for their bodies and for their body parts. It's that simple. It's an ongoing problem, and we're going to be proving that throughout this series. Part 2 that I'm already started working on is on the human artery and human organs trafficking. People being trafficked for their medical body parts. There's a lot to say about it that a lot of people aren't talking about. And we're going to start talking about it here. So you guys got that part 2 to look forward to. Also, like I said before, Malice and me have been in discussions right now. Everybody's sending him good vibes. He wasn't feeling too well the other day. He said he's a little bit sick. And that's my buddy in Australia for new listeners. He's a regular guest on this show. A prominent guest on the show. So we have been in talks about doing a live one. He's been working a lot. And like I said, now he just got sick. That's why I went ahead and did the episode the way I did. Part 2 is already in production phase. Like we're already working on it, compiling the research material for it. We are in talks about doing a live show. This live show will be basically a discussion about this podcast episode. What everybody thought about it, what he thinks about it, and that kind of stuff. Like I said, this is a problem that I think that everybody across the globe needs to get behind. I'm not saying open borders. I'm saying no on that. But I am saying that we need to bring awareness to this problem. This is a problem that's connected, okay? It really is. These people are trafficked. Pimps are connected too. You could take a pimp in the Bay Area, California, and that pimp could call somebody in Texas to check up on a girl that the guy in Oakland already gave him. I'm telling you, this stuff happens, bro. It's been happening for years and years and years and years. It's just the reality of the sex industry. These girls are trafficked, they are monitored, and everybody knows who they are, okay? They working girls. That's just what it is. That's why in the streets, they say, that ain't no girl, she married to the streets, all right? That's the cold reality of it, man. But a lot of times, they didn't start out that way. They started out just like these girls we're talking about in the show, and that's what prompted me to do this show. And that's the whole reason behind it. These girls have a story to be told. And they do have a voice to be heard. So, this episode just showed the human trafficking part of the border crisis and the human trafficking across the globe crisis. It's an ongoing crisis that's going on. A lot of people are trying to do something about it, but not much is getting done about it. It's still a very, very sick problem that is growing. It is now the #1 crime illegally. So if you're involved in the illegal street business, it is the #1 crime going on. They said that human trafficking and children trafficking is number 1, guns are number 2, and drugs are finally number 3. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. If you want to know what's going on the border, you just found out in this episode. If you want to know what's going on in human trafficking, you just found out in this episode. If you want to know why these people are going to Asia to so often, these CEOs, you just got your answer. It's because it only cost them $400 to get a child. And we just saw them get busted in the bonus feature episode. And that was American business people that got busted. That's why they're going there. It only cost them $400. And that's no questions asked. They're just owned after that. They can do whatever they want with them. Local police officers that are like in their sex crimes division in Asia, a lot of them said that these Americans will pay $400 for the girl, have intercourse with them, and just kill them and leave the hotel room. It is a very common problem, in fact, he said. And it's not just American. It's like businessmen from across the globe. But it's because of how much it's costing them. It's only costing them $400. That's the problem. You know what I mean? The fact they can get away with it, that's the problem. So yeah, they're talking about a little bit of the issue, but they're not telling you the whole problem. They're also not telling you how it's connected. So when you look at the human trafficking, you got to look at the human fact of they are being trafficked for their body parts now too. That is like part of the human trafficking thing that they're not talking about. And upon doing research, I'm learning why that is. And it's because it's connected. This is a big web. It's like a circle thing. It's a constant moving and evolving thing, right? As technology develops, so do they. It just keeps turning around. And that's what's going on. So, guys, expect a part 2 on human trafficking, organs, and the artery aspect of the body parts being trafficked. That's coming, medical human trafficking. That is coming next, and then you guys can expect a live feature with me and Malice, hoping sometime after that. I'm going to be in discussion with him about that here pretty soon. So this has been Mike from Mike's Random Thoughts. I got to get ready to go to work. Peace, love, and good vibes. Everybody have a great afternoon.